Good evening. It really is extra special now to have everyone in the room together for the 4th annual Joyce Axelrod Lecture here at Mingei International Museum. If we haven't met, I'm Jessica Hansen-York. I'm the executive director here at Mingei. And it's great to see just such everyone came from all different parts of connections to our speakers, members of Mingei, friends of Joyce, everyone part of our really special arts community here in San Diego. So thank you for joining us. This annual event is an opportunity for the Mingei to bring someone special to town, to highlight voices and ideas that are advancing our collective conversation around craft and design, and to illuminate and explore the beauty and creativity that draws us all here together at Mingei. And this year, we needed more than one person to bring this dialogue to life. We are fortunate to have found just the right group. A warm welcome to our guest speakers this evening, Claudy Jongstra, who came all the way from the Netherlands. Sarah Bellos, who came from Nashville to be with us. And Jennifer Luce, who walked across the bridge from 6th Avenue. Thank you all for being here. A little quick housekeeping. When the lecture ends later, we'll do our best to get you all upstairs pretty quickly on the 2 elevators that you came down on, okay? And we have cocktails and food waiting when we finish up this evening. We'll enjoy a nice reception on the entry level and in the courtyard. I want to acknowledge Joseph Fish for funding this event tonight in honor of Joyce Axelrod. Thank you, Joe. The Axelrod Weekend, as we call it here at Mingei, is always busy, and this year's activities included a sold-out, curator-led tour of Blue Gold this afternoon, and an in-depth workshop with Claudy tomorrow afternoon, which I believe is also sold out. Very exciting. I can't believe this is our 4th year. Joyce, it's our 4th annual. You know, the namesake of this amazing annual event has helped to guide its development for these last 4 years, always doing her research and asking our team very good questions. Many of you here know Joyce, and if you don't, you should. So make sure you meet her after the lecture at the reception. You'll see her in just a minute here. Joyce is so curious and engaged, and she loves the art, and she's a great friend to so many artists and a dedicated supporter of Mingei and many other cultural organizations here in San Diego. She's pretty great. Joyce, we're so grateful to you and Joe, and I'm gonna ask you to come up and say a few words.
Jessica, thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So, wow, look at this crowd. Fill the capacity for our 4th lecture series. If you were here in year 1, you'd remember Glenn Adamson. He is a curator, a writer, and a historian. And his work is like the center for craft design and contemporary art. In year 2, we welcome Preston Singletary. He's a Native American glass artist, and he was here fresh from his one-man show at the Smithsonian Institute. His groundbreaking work defines what indigenous art is, and he will be here with his art during the spring because they're going to have an exhibition called Clearly Indigenous. Then came year 3. featuring Mira Nakashima, the furniture maker and the daughter of the legendary George Nakashima. She shared her story of her father's legacy and her own work as the principal designer of Nakashima woodworkers. 3 giants, 3 unforgettable evenings, and now year 4 promises to be just as extraordinary as we bring together 4 phenomenal women. Speaking about phenomenal women, my experience working with the Mingei staff has been a joy, and I would like to just thank, particularly for just this year, Heather Kerner, Emily Hanna, and Jessica Hansen-York. It's been an absolute joy, and their passion and their dedication shines through in everything that they do. So thank you. And of course, thank you, Joe Fish, who has been a constant support for getting this evening and bringing it to life. So thank you. And most importantly, thank all of you for your enthusiasm, your curiosity, and your support of the arts. So now let's delve into tonight's program.
I told you she's pretty great. So as Joyce said, tonight we are bringing together 4 brilliant women. Each one of them is rooted in craft, sustainability, and tonight we're going to hear about their work and the inspiration and the values that guide their work, and the really wonderful, magical ways in which their practices connect and overlap. Speaking of cool women, I think most of you know that Martha Longenecker was the founder of Mingei International Museum. She founded it because she was inspired by the Japanese philosopher Soetsu Yanagi. He was the founder of the Mingei movement, which he began out of concern for the impact of industrialization on the handmade. When I was thinking about the program tonight, it was really natural to go back to Yanagi. I pulled, the book of his collective writings off the shelf, and as I often do, found his musings resonant for the moment. Yanagi said, "I feel that the great problem is how to make good things in the present state of society. I wish that everyone would realize that until recently, beauty in things was commonplace, and it is our responsibility to demand that of the future. Industrialism has been of service to mankind, but at the cost of the heart, of warmth and beauty." Yanagi asks us to consider how we are living in this world, what we are consuming, and how we value beauty. And the philosophy at the heart of Mingei lies in celebrating utility and beauty, which we find in objects that are made carefully and thoughtfully, made to last through generations, objects that add to our quality of life, and they uplift our spirit, our health, and our planet. Our chief curator and director of exhibitions, Dr. Emily Hanna, centered this philosophy in the exhibition Blue Gold, which she co-curated with Husha Sanders and Barbara Forsyth, who's also here with us this evening. In selecting pieces from the ancient to the new, she highlighted artists and craftsmen who brought together an unbeatable combination of nature and human creativity. For the last 3 years, Emily has guided our exhibitions and collecting mission to celebrate contemporary culture bearers, important stories, and bold design. She's the perfect person to lead the discussion tonight. And now I'd like to turn it over to you, Emily.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see you all here. I will be introducing our three speakers. I'll read all of their bios now, and then they will come up and give you a presentation, and then we will have a conversation together about their work. Our first speaker will be Jennifer Luce. Jennifer is a Canadian architect born and raised into a Montreal family deeply rooted in the European textile and fashion industry. Graduating with a degree in architecture from Carleton University, Ottawa, Jen began her career winning an international competition to design the Center for Innovative Technology outside Washington, D.C., a campus dedicated to innovative thinking. Responding to a competition brief that emphasized the subjects of technology, science, and mathematics, Jennifer's 1985 winning scheme suggested a celebration of the ritual of place, the importance of meditative space, and the emotional power of architectural scale. The center continues in its remarkable efforts today in the setting that Jen intended. She earned a graduate degree from Harvard's Graduate School of Design in 1994 with a focus in landscape history and art in the public realm. This marked a shift in her work, committing to architecture that builds community through an infusion of the arts. In 2016, she was elevated to fellowship by the American Institute of Architects, a professional recognition of her contribution to creative design thinking. 35 years of practice in California, New York, and now British Columbia has resulted in over 40 American Institute of Architects awards, the distinction of Architectural Records Design Vanguard, and 3 separate features in the New York Times. A decade of creative projects for Nissan Design America, an intimately crafted residence at the Zaha Hadid building in New York, and a La Jolla home for a renowned Salk Institute scientist speak to the range of scale, narrative, and context of the studio's portfolio. Most recently, the studio, client, and a team of dozens of talented design collaborators completed a 7-year effort toward the transformation of the Mingei International Museum. At Mingei, the focus of Jen's career has coalesced in spaces that speak, gathered around art with the presence of delicately, precisely crafted details that visitors touch with visceral reaction. Here at Mingei, craft, architecture, and art come together as one. Our second speaker will be Claudy Jongstra, who is here from the Netherlands. Claudy Jongstra is internationally renowned for her textile artworks and architectural installations that drew from her multifaceted approach, uniting artistry and ecological stewardship in a profound and enduring artist-activist vision. The exceptional quality of each handcrafted artwork is ensured by Jongstra's decades-long dedication to cultivating regenerative, natural materials, Drent Heath sheep's wool, and heirloom dye plants with her partner Claudia Bousson on their biodynamic farm in Friesland, the Netherlands. Since establishing her atelier in 2001, Jongstra has redefined the ancient techniques of wool felting and plant-based dyeing in the powerful lyrical compositions she creates for diverse cultural, academic, corporate, public, and residential spaces across the globe. Studio Claudy Jongstra works collaboratively with leading architects, designers, and institutions on prestigious projects, including Mingei International Museum, U.S. Embassy in The Hague, University of Pennsylvania, the Barnes Foundation, the Lincoln Center, and others. Jongstra's artworks are collected by private collectors and modern art museums around the world. As her atelier celebrates 30 years in 2025, Jongstra is launching Loads Education, offering future generations an innovative interdisciplinary curriculum grounded in ancient and time-tested methods. Our third speaker is Sarah Bellos. Sarah is a solutions-focused innovator passionate about regenerative agriculture and renewable chemistry. As a founder of Stony Creek Colors, she has developed new products for global textile customers and safer processes to bring cleaner color to fashion, food, and beauty. A graduate of the Cornell University Agricultural School with a degree in natural resources management, Sarah has 20 years of leadership experience across food, ag, and textile sectors. She saw an opportunity to responsibly harness the colors in plants to meet the fashion brand's needs for cleaner color, while benefiting working lands and those who farm them. Bellos-led natural colorant innovator Stony Creek Colors for over a decade as the natural colorant innovator developed and commercialized an optimized proprietary indigo crop. This resulted in award-winning sustainable fashion advancements, including the first natural pre-reduced indigo to industrial denim customers globally through their certified plant-based Indigold denim dye. The company's proprietary R&D program led to multi-factor improvements in indigo production, including improved genetics for indigo-bearing plants and developments to bring their clean and safe plant-derived blue into natural food colorant and personal care cosmetics. Prior to founding Stony Creek Colors, Bellos managed a textile dye house, worked and led vegetable and specialty crop farms in urban and rural settings, and worked in institutional impact investing at the World Resources Institute. So, Jennifer Luce, are you ready?
It's so humbling. Oh my God, don't look. It's so humbling to be here and have this room full. It brings a tear to my eye. It's a very, very special place, Mingei, and it's profoundly changed my life. I think my job tonight is to talk about space and how we as architects are inspired, number one, and how space can profoundly change a city, its community, and how that becomes, in some ways, activism. So we are in Balboa Park, which is just one of the most phenomenal places I have ever spent a lot of time. And I don't know if we all know the story, but the city leaders in 1868 and then later defined in 1875 set aside 1,200 acres of this city to become a park. And that was pretty radical. It was just after that was done in Central Park in New York. And then in 1915, the Panama, California Exposition came, and the park was transformed into really a gathering place. And this is an image of the Mingei Museum in 1915. I truly believe there was an intense amount of courage involved in doing both of these things. And I'm so proud of our city for taking that step so many years ago. So here's the park today, named Balboa Park in 1910. And it's one of the largest urban cultural parks in the United States at 1,200 acres. It's truly beautiful. I love how the canyons just run through it and then peak outward. So what are my inspirations? We're all going to talk about that this evening. And I had to really look back and think about it because it's sort of take it for granted in some ways. But I grew up in a family focused on textile, and it was mostly about paisley, which I say that's why I wear black now. I mean, our curtains were paisley, my clothes were paisley, everything was paisley. But there was a notion of craft there that was intensely powerful. And my father helped to take historic patterns from William Morris and recolor them so that they became contemporary. And my mother looked like this every day. And then I was influenced by art at a very young age. I grew up in Quebec, and we had a summer home up the St. Lawrence River, and we happened to be in the same town as Jean-Paul Lemieux, who was just an incredible modernist painter, a sense of minimalism. And then Expo 67 was probably the most influential for me to become an architect, and Habitat 67, amazing, Buckminster Fuller's geodesic dome, and the Olympic Stadium from 1976. But truly it was art that has influenced our practice, and particularly artists who make space, where the work is space. And we aspire to infuse our architecture with that level of emotion and sensuality. I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but we're working on it. And Anne Hamilton, I have to say, would be our most influential artist. And this was a project in San Diego in 1990 at MCA. It was called Between Taxonomy and Communion, a collection of teeth that she collected from dentists. And you walked on a glass floor that had wool underneath it. And you're completely off center, but you knew where you were. And then, of course, the work of Richard Serra, where Tilted Arc at the Federal Plaza in New York is just a line, but it makes space. It makes space happen. And Cy Twombly at the Louvre, the ceiling that completely transformed this space. And back to Anne Hamilton at the Armory in New York, these beautiful, billowing curtains, say curtains, slightly influential in Mingei, that made so much space that people just lay down underneath them and spent the afternoon there. And then Anne again at the Fabric Workshop with these billowing curtains that are rotating, and there was always some kind of activity going on, and that's what we hope for architecture, that amongst these beautiful sensations, community gathers. And then a curiosity about dissolving that line between art and architecture. And Claudy's work does that so beautifully. Le Corbusier, an architect, painting a mural in his own cabin that dissolves the line between the two. And then later, Corbusier making tapestries that filled the walls of his architecture. And Picasso painting murals. This one, particularly on the right, is at UNESCO in Paris from 1958, transformed the space that it's in. And Ellsworth Kelly, a sculpture for a large wall in Philadelphia, where this sculpture becomes screen, becomes architecture. And back to bad boy Le Corbusier, who broke into Eileen Gray's house, which was right below his on the ocean, and painted a mural just so that he could state his presence in her life. And she wasn't so happy about that. But not only did he do that, but he painted it naked and had himself photographed. I mean, that's performance art in architecture. And then finally, the Bunka Theater in Tokyo, a beautiful acoustic wall that is art and architecture at the same time. Ólafur Eliasson in Iceland, where the facade is art. This is an amazing moment where architecture and art collaborate, and collaboration is a huge part of our practice. So how does that affect our work? Some very, very simple and quick examples. Our work for Nissan Design America in La Jolla and Detroit. This is a courtyard that we built for them to test out their vehicles. And really it became a sculpture for them and an identity of their presence in the community. Most of the staff hated the idea and didn't understand why we would be doing that or why they would be spending money on this. But I have to say, one morning I received this photograph from a designer who said, now I understand. Another project for Nissan here in La Jolla. This is Machine in a Box. The only occupant of this building is a machine. And the machine made its own facade. So there's a sense of belonging that the machine actually has, and it breathes. It's a being, and the building respects that. And then the facade of Extraordinary Desserts here in San Diego, where we took the concept of how do we shroud a very ugly building that we don't have enough money to change. And so we look at the act of baking, and it's very scientific, and we look at the microscopic image of flour, and that becomes the facade. And then here at Mingei, a series of elements that at once are entirely functional. What is a fence? Well, in a drawing, that fence looks quite normal, right, Rob? But once sculpted, with the aid of an amazing group of people in Kansas City who are the oldest fabrication shop in the country, and yet have the most highly technological machines. The machine cuts the fence pieces, but human beings twist them and finish them. So all that leads to this unbelievable desire and passion to collaborate with artists. And so at Mingei, we got together and talked about commissioning permanent works that become architecture. So, and why not do it with a bunch of women? So these are all the women we commissioned: Claudy, Petra Bley, Mira Nakashima, Billy Sien, Christina Kim, and Sharon Stamfer. So quickly running through these projects, they're infused into the architecture. There's no line between them. Mira extended the boardroom table with 2 beautiful end pieces. Billy Sien went back to her Chinese heritage, looking at root benches to create the gallery benches. Christina Kim made these diaphanous, amazing curtains that based on her South Korean heritage. And Petra Bley remarked, right here, Petra remarked on the work of Kate Sessions, who was the horticulturalist who planted Balboa Park, and honored her with an abstraction of the jacaranda leaf on the jacaranda tree. Sharon Stamfer sculpted the handle on the door of the boardroom. She is an architect who is now a jeweler. And of course, Claudy Jongstra, and we're so excited that we're going to hear so much more about this piece, Truth and Beauty in Black. This idea of necessity of acoustics, desire for art, and how can we take the budget for the acoustics and apply it to the art? And yes, we win. We get both at the same time. There was a lot of strategizing going on. So I think that's the full circle of my thinking about the importance of architecture as craft, its sustainability as an entity that morphs over time and allows for different uses. This room is the perfect example of that. And activism that someone had the courage to make Balboa Park happen. Thank you. Oh, I'm not finished. Wait a minute. Sorry. Okay, very quickly. Claudy Jongstra, 2006, a conference called Radical Craft. And let me just tell you some of the other people who were in this. Jonathan Ive from Apple. Billy Borowitz, a humorist. Harold Koda, a fashion curator. Isaac Mizrahi, a fashion designer. And she comes last and she shows her work, and it's her beautiful farm, and it's her sheep, and it's her yarn and her wool. And I was completely obsessed and have been ever since. The offices of the Dutch government, an entire room lined with felt. I mean, this is the barns where you can't tell the difference between the stone and the felt. UPenn's library, I can't remember the total length of this piece, but it absolutely absorbs you. This is art as space. And finally, Mingei. So I think now I'm done. Sorry.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, thank you, and welcome. I'm Claudy Jongstra from the Netherlands, from the north. I dedicated my life for the last 30 years only with working with wool, the material which has completely became my obsession until the day of today. And I'll show you a small video about how it started, and then I will continue with my presentation. This is a detail of a work recently made. It's the detail of the Guernica de Ecologia, but more will come later.
Op mijn middelbare school zei ik tegen mijn mentor dat ik heel graag naar de kunstacademie wilde. Die mentor zei, nee, dit is voor jou niet weggelegd. Maar ik voelde mijzelf wel dat ik kunstzinnigheid wilde ontwikkelen. En toen dacht ik, ik ga het toch doen. Iemand zei laatst tegen mij, als ik jou zou mogen definiëren, zou ik bijna tegen jou zeggen dat je een materiekunstenaar bent. Ik denk dat dat wel klopt. Het werk dat ik maak bestaat eigenlijk uit natuurlijke vezels die samen eigenlijk een hele grote dansvoorstelling maken. Ik denk dat de kwaliteit van de natuur en de tinten van de natuurlijkheid dat troost biedt. Want die natuur die heeft geen oordeel, die heeft geen moraliteit, die is onzijdig en die is er alleen maar. De grote gedachte eigenlijk achter het werk is vooral het laten zien van kleuren en materie die eigenlijk niet meer zichtbaar zijn in onze wereld. Rembrandt, Vermeer, Rubens, die maakten ook hun pigmenten met de kleuren waar ik mee verf. En alle culturen van de wereld kennen bijvoorbeeld het blauw, het typische indigo blauw. Dat wordt bijna niet meer gemaakt, verbouwd. De kennis van het maken van die indigo gaat dus ook verloren. En als we die kleuren niet meer hebben, dan is dat zo, vind ik dat zo jammer, want dat zijn de kostbaarheden van onze aarde, denk ik. Kopen van verfgewassen, dat wordt op de wereldmarkt aangeboden, maar je hebt geen clue waar het vandaan komt. Je kent die boer niet, er worden pesticiden gebruikt, dat zie je terug in de verfstof. Toen dacht ik, we gaan het gewoon zelf doen. En inmiddels is dat dus uitgegroeid tot een community van mensen, niet alleen maar studenten of stagiaires die komen En die zich voor een bepaalde tijd aan ons bedrijf verbinden, maar ook de lokale boeren. Het is een beweging geworden. We verdienen het geld met de kunst. Maar zo zou je het ook niet kunnen benoemen, want het verdienmodel zit ergens anders op. Het zit bijvoorbeeld op dat je een impact geeft aan het landschap. Dat zit in een beweging, het zit in het bewustzijn, het zit in een verandering. Als ik het heb over dat het belangrijk is voor het welzijn van ons allemaal, dat maakt samen dat kunstwerk. En daar zit het verdienmodel. Het brengt heel veel werelden bij elkaar. En dat is eigenlijk best mooi. En als je dat op een manier doet zoals wij dat doen, door toch heel erg serieus naar die aardekwaliteiten te kijken, dat die aarde is de enige plek waar we kunnen wonen met z'n allen. En dat je dat toch een beetje wilt borgen, nou ja, dat je dat moet borgen voor je kinderen. Dan is dat mijn bijdrage. Dan heb ik dit te doen.
It's quite interesting too because it was sponsored by a bank in the Netherlands. It was a very special bank. It's the one. It's called Triodos. It's the most sustainable bank in the world. They have a different strategy, so we are very grateful to collaborate with them. And yeah, there's a lot of trust in them towards us, what we do. So I started working with wool 30 years ago, and it all became because I saw an exhibition about wool felt, and I saw this incredible shelter, tent, yurt, and I could not believe what I saw, that people have lived in that for centuries, endured many circumstances, climate, rain, storms, and you just roll it up and put it on your horse and you travel, and then you build it up again. So for 2 years I started experimenting with wool, and the palette of that was insane. And I thought, if I work with the material, it's very important also to see them, to observe them, to get to know them, and to feel the whole cycle in the year. So I lived at that time in a city, and I bought 7 sheep, and they found our house at a local farmer. And then when we moved to Friesland, 1 hour from Amsterdam in the north, this incredible herd. This is now. It's the most. This is the oldest breed in Northern Europe. It's called Grand Heat, and they're very ancient. They have an incredible specific wool quality. It's very long. There are only 1,000 left. Not so much. They keep them not for meat consumption, but just for they keep them for land preservation. So if you keep these sheep, they prevent an area of becoming a forest. There is an incredible collaboration between the shepherds and the dogs and the sheep. So they have an incredible natural biotope, a reserve. So they don't have to travel. They can work there. And a sheep needs an hectare a year, so you need a lot of land. But since they have no stress, because they take care of them really well, the wool is incredible. So in the work downstairs, you can see that the shine and is phenomenal. So sometimes when we compare other wool and you see other circumstances, it immediately reflects back in the quality of the wool. The condition of the sheep, you can see that it's very naked. The material shows itself. It shows the conditions in how. Where they work and how they're being treated. It's very interesting. Wool felt is an imaginary process. You have wool. It's a very intellectual fiber, I would say. You add water to it, it will open up, and then by friction, you have a cloth in a few seconds. So tomorrow the people will join the class. They will experience that themselves. It's like an incredible process. You literally don't need nothing. You just need the material and wool. We have in the northern part, we have our own, you can say, process of making. We have ateliers where we make wool felt. We have a dye atelier. We have residency places for people who study with us. We have housing for them, so you live on the farm. It's very remote. It's very dark. There is no shop in the village, so you have to either walk or bike to the next village to do your groceries. It can be very confronting. We have people from all over the world, from Los Angeles to Tokyo, joining us for a certain period. You're literally part of the community. And this is a farm. It's a beautiful 200-year-old greenhouse. It was nearly destructed. So we rescued it. It came from Belgium. We deconstructed it in our farm, and this is for us an example of sustainability because it's 200-year-old, 1,000 glasses. We have a lot of storms and rains in the northern part, but never ever it broke. And here is where the seedlings for the color plants. This is where we grow them. The people in our team, they work on the farm and they work also in the ateliers. So you experience the whole cycle. So that's very interesting too, because how would you, for example, become a regenerative fashion designer if you have not an awareness of nature, of especially the length of time, if you grow crops for color or vegetables. In any season, there is something special. We celebrate seasonal harvesting, so it's very important also. This is our main structure in the process too. We have a different variety of plants for color. We grow on our farm, but also we collaborate since a few years with farmers in the south, in Spain, in Belgium, and this year we start again with a farm in the UK. We find it very interesting to collaborate with regenerative biodynamic farmers because they're always, for us it's always a challenge to experience certain crops with different soil, different sun hours. Last year we had a crop in Spain with sunflowers, and we grew the same crops in the Netherlands, but the color palettes were completely different. So the soil and the conditions and the circumstances, they dictate literally the color of the palettes. And also it is very interesting if farmers grow these crops. For example, this is in the Netherlands. There is a whole different atmosphere on the farm. You saw that also in the video, because it attracts different people. So scientists come there, and artists and ecologists. It's very interesting to grow this because it's a whole community coming alive. This is the woad. It's the European indigo. You can harvest that 5 times a year. So it's from May until the beginning of October. You can harvest this plant. We dried it one season, and 10,000 kilos of leaves. They give 10 kilos of powder, so you need a lot to distillate in a sense. In especially this process of woad coloring, but also for the work in the Mingei, we collaborated with scientists from the Netherlands, but also from Belgium and the UK, to explain to us and to work together with in the field of historical reconstructions. We do that on the farm because reconstructing a recipe, you have to literally understand the language of that time, 16th, 17th, 18th century. There was a whole different perspective of time, for example. It would not say 3 times 20 minutes, but it would say, for example, take a pater noster. So you have to figure out what that means. And it is a prayer. So people were, in that sense, also reading these recipes. It was something spiritual or religious, you could say. It is very interesting also when you study on these recipes, you can understand how people lived. I mean, through the beauty in the work in the Mingei, for example, there is sourdough because the people who made the colors, the dyers, had a very high status because what they did was so exceptional, and it ranked very high in society because people who could afford the Burgundian black, for example, they were wealthy. And it is interesting to see in the recipes that these dyers, that they were very experimental, they explored, they would forage at their neighbor craftsmen, the bakers, what do you have in waste, sourdough, for example, or the beer brewers, the metal workers. very interesting ingredients in the Burgundian black. So when we made this work, I remember it was wintertime. We had to prepare oak vessels. I mean, that even making an oak vessel is so interesting because you have to forage things who are not available because we don't live in these cloister, situations or in a community where your neighbors have that. So it was a search finding them and also the conditions. But if you really explore these recipes and in collaboration with the scientists, I mean, the effect you saw in the palettes, it works really well. This is a famous, it's called madder root. It's also in the Burgundian black in the piece downstairs. It is the red of the famous Dutch painters. Amsterdam had a whole area with where all these people, the dyers, where they worked, and Rembrandt used to go there at the end of the working day, and he scratched the pots and he took it to his atelier and he made his own recipe. And this is an incredible color, because if you've ever seen that, I mean, you will never forget it. It takes 5 years for the root to generate the color. In the Netherlands, we had a lot of the madder root crops, but due to our soil quality in certain areas. But nowadays, it's completely gone. I mean, we have no patience waiting 5 years for that color, which is a pity, I would say. But we saved some roots, and when the scientists came to us, they were super excited because we literally digged a root. It was 15 years old, and due to the clay on the root, the soil, which has minerals, it really deepened the whole palette. So it's very interesting to have a fresh root. This is an impression of a day in the atelier, the composing of the fibers. It's a constellation of materials, and then, as I explained, you add water to it, and then by movement, a fabric comes out of that, or a piece like this. Natural colors and wool and natural materials, they blend in an environment in such a way that take place. They, as here also, as if it has always been there. It's never, there in a very, see-me way. I said to Jen the other day, I received a very nice compliment from Todd Williams. He said the work has no ego; it's just there, and this is also how I experienced that. This is a tapestry in a restaurant in the Netherlands. We collaborated with the farmers. A lot of edible dyes are in this too. 2 pieces in the space, and it gives intimacy. It is makes it feel a different scale, and it was an old factory. They renovated it, and now you can see the effect. The embassy, the U.S. embassy in The Hague, is I think 17 meters, organic shaped. There is a lot of the woad inside. We did a lot of hand embroidery, sometimes afterwards we embroider, we add additional layers. This is a spectacular project we recently accomplished. This is the International Theatre Amsterdam. They showed us a space, and there was an acoustic problem. They couldn't use it because it was very cold, but very interesting. It has these phenomenal murals from the 19th century. And they said to me, what shall we do? So I immediately said the ceiling. So the botanical frescoes were installed, but it was very interesting. Behind the material, they repurposed old costumes from plays. They were made into an acoustic material in a social enterprise in Rotterdam. So behind this fresco, there is also another story, another layer. If you ever go to Amsterdam, call me. I will show you this incredible place. They cleaned the mural, the paintings on the wall, by an incredible innovation. A scientist from Italy had discovered that algae, they have this purifying quality, so they cleaned it with algae. It's super bright, yeah. The Guernica de Ecologia, it's a piece, was my response to Picasso's Guernica, same size, monochrome, not about genocide, but this is a work about the ecocide. Traveling piece. It's now Valencia. It's interesting. There was a big flood in November. It was a disaster. they canalized the river, so it flooded. And the artist who was supposed to have an exhibition in a museum in Valencia, all the work was destroyed. And then we were approached to have this work displayed, because this is about what happens when we intervene in nature, and it's very interesting. So it's now in Valencia on show. Collaboration for fashion designers, Margiela. I have 1 minute, I have to hurry. Oh. This is very recent. This is 3 weeks ago, Ulla Johnson, New York. This is incredible. I mean, the collaboration was fantastic. It was so special. But it was the first time in all of our collaborations with fashion designers that I mentioned specifically how we work, the circular processes, the sheep. I mean, for the first time, fashion designers acknowledge that this is important, because this is an incredible source, and yeah, you see the result is beautiful. Yeah, Emily said it in the introduction. At the end of the year, we will start our own institution, and the exhibition at the gallery at Jens. It's called Counter Currents. This is us. We are not against, but we are doing our own thing on the side. So we're starting our own curriculum. You can exercise the whole process. People are welcome. We will do online courses, how to farm and how to grow crops, and we are open source. You can ask us anything. So more at the end of the year. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Sarah Bellos, founder of Stony Creek Colors. We are a natural colorant manufacturer. And in this presentation, or kind of prior to our panel, I wanted to just share a little bit about our path getting to bring natural colorants to a more industrial scale, and my journey from the more artisan level and this experience of working with industry at a new scale. And for those of you who saw the Blue Gold exhibit, I think that hopefully you saw the Levi's blue jeans, and as you may know, indigo is also the dye used in denim blue jeans. And by the way, I think that the Blue Gold exhibit is absolutely extraordinary for those of you who work in indigo. To see so many incredible pieces in one place is really testament to the work of the whole team. So thanks to bringing it all together and having us here. What you'll notice in this specific part of the exhibit, and what's called out really wonderfully, this integration of science with the art and the craft was just so well executed, is this transition that the denim industry made away from the natural indigo used throughout the whole exhibit to synthetic indigo in the early 1900s. And so the jeans on the left are dyed with synthetic indigo, which is what most denim is dyed with today. That's petroleum-based indigo. And the jeans on the right are a collaboration that Stony Creek Colors did with Levi Strauss to bring plant-based indigo back into industrial denim manufacturing. And I think that what you'll see throughout this exhibit is the really incredible human ingenuity and creativity in utilizing natural indigo, mostly this color from plants, as well as this really incredible adaptation of unrelated indigo species, developing a way of producing this color that really was hidden from view. It's a molecule that you don't know is blue until you actually handle the plants. It's in the form in the plants, not in its blue form. And so while you are seeing it in a field, you won't know that it's an indigo-bearing crop. And to think that in all of these civilizations, not in communication with each other, they developed these disparate and absolutely incredible methods for coaxing this color out and then utilizing it in these incredible ways that persist. You'll see firefighters' garments that are serving a function, just like Jess said at the beginning, that it's not just about the beauty of it, but these useful items that are imbued with the beauty themselves. So I think that as I thought about, and even what Jen was saying about the courage of forming Balboa Park, for example, this quote by Brené Brown, she actually is a researcher in courage. She's in Texas. I recommend her work. She has a lot of TED Talks. And what she mentioned as the prerequisite to courage, but also to creativity, and we know Mingei is really here to celebrate human creativity. To create is to make something that never existed before. But the prerequisite to that is vulnerability. Yes, you have to be brave and to have courage, but first you have to be vulnerable and to take that step. That's the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and ultimately change. And I think if you saw in Claudy's work, being out in the elements, all of these things that are really about change of the natural environment, but also how can we show our work in a way that creates the change downstream. Those artisans here are craftspeople working with natural colors specifically, but anyone who's really developing their own materials, working with local resources, we sort of have the first-hand seat at practicing exploring vulnerability pretty much every single day. And ultimately, this is like the best training ground, I think, for exercising our creativity and making this change. I got my start in my early 20s. I studied sustainable ag and natural resources management, and I have more artistic family members. 2 sisters. My mom is here, who's an artist, and I got together with my sisters who were looking for what we could do together. And so we started to learn this obscure, what was then a really it's much harder to find information out, but like these texts that Claudy referenced, these were kind of our textbooks, and we taught ourselves natural dyeing and really like funded this work through selling at artisan festivals and crafts shows, and pretty much like this. That's my twin sister on the bottom right, and on the upper left, my sister Alessandra and I were doing catazome. We started doing a lot of resist printing and screen printing. Ultimately, we're approached by more independent designers and small-scale brands and started offering natural dyeing as a service because it was something that really resonated with designers who had always been told that you can't use natural dyes. You couldn't find an industrial dye house to even talk to you about natural colors. It's pretty much still the case today. And so this is from London Fashion Week, a brand called Prophetic. They have been working with us and with natural dyes for quite some time. And so in this way, I learned more about what was actually being done with synthetic colors. I just jumped into natural dyes, never having been a dyer or taking a dye class. And so the more I started working with the brands and the designers, researching what are we actually supplanting. I wanted to use plants and to support the local farming economy, so I was using natural dyes. But once I began to understand what is in the synthetic dyes, when I say synthetic dyes, it basically means a petrochemical base. So the carbon is from decomposed dinosaurs instead of more recent atmospheric CO2 that the plants, took out of the atmosphere. And indigo specifically was something shocking, I think, to me. You can see this pathway. This is how to make synthetic indigo at a factory. This is all made in China. There are 4 factories making all of the world's synthetic indigo today. So this is the industrial process. It is, you'll see sodium cyanide, for example. it's a half a pound of sodium cyanide to make 1 pound of indigo. You have to add formaldehyde. You have to have the sodamine reaction, which is like an explosive reaction, in order to make indoxyl and then indigo. And over 50% of the world's indigo actually takes place at a single factory in Inner Mongolia. This process is nothing new. When you look upstairs and you think of how indigo has been grown over several across civilizations, it was a closed loop process, right? It took place in communities, in backyards, in the dye houses that were serving the community. And in starting to make the transition really from the hand dyeing, hand painting of shirts to what comes next, I realized that developing a more closed loop process and controlling the supply of the extracts was really necessary. Because like Claudy mentioned, when you are just buying these extracts, but you don't know where they came from, you don't even know that they're really natural dyes. And if you're buying the roots and then you're extracting them yourself, you don't know how they were grown. I started to focus more on indigo. On the right is a color palette that we were offering as a dye service on any natural substrate, but to really focus in much more on natural indigo and realize that until we could develop the extracts ourselves, there was really no way to scale responsibly and also consistently. So I started Stony Creek Colors really with this in mind, how to develop a consistent high purity supply of natural colorants that could be trusted by a diverse set of both artisans, as well as bringing it to a level that could be utilized by the denim industry. So I'll go through this next part pretty quickly because I hopefully have time for a video as well. But we started out our indigo dye facility in Robertson County, Tennessee. First, it was just grown on my small farm, and I was driving the plants to other partners to figure out the best ways to extract them. And then in 2016, we started really scaling up the actual batch sizes. Here are some indigo soaking in a fresh leaf method behind our factory. And ultimately, we developed a business model, my team and I, that was really the full value chain. So everything from the seed and the genetics, how to make more indigo through really just modern, normal plant breeding methods, but crop selection through a mechanized harvest system. And I think that this was really the original driving force in focusing on indigo, was how do we mechanize enough that the parts of indigo production that I hope you guys already know this, or you'll spend some time on the exhibit upstairs in this part, but indigo has such a legacy and history of being produced by enslaved people. So there are many cultures in which indigo production was revered and celebrated, and the more industrialized it became, the more it became born on the backs of enslaved people, whether that's in the deep South in pre-American Revolution, what is now the United States, or in South India. So everything from mechanizing the process through how to be able to grow the crop in a way that could be ultra high purity, ultimately to go into these food or cosmetics uses, and something that could be run in a more year-round fashion. So a lot of research and development. We transitioned varieties. We had really a big effort to develop improve a more tropical crop, and that kind of will be part of our next transition as a company to take the varieties we were able to improve the most and partner with farmers in other regions. And then ultimately partnering with brands to take the natural indigo into denim mills. We have sold at about 11 or 12 denim mills around the world that are able to use the indigo as a replacement crop. Hopefully you guys have time for this.
got a little bit of everything wrapped up in one company. We're literally doing it all in-house and trying to grow it as we do it. The script's not written for any of this process other than what we've done.
People ask me that question, how long I've been farming, and sometimes it's hard to answer because I was with my dad as early as I can remember. Yeah, hello, I'm Bill Pearson. I'm a 7th generation farmer. I've been growing indigo for Stony Creek Colors. This will be our 5th crop.
Stony Creek Colors makes climate-positive, plant-based indigo. I'm Sarah Bellos, founder and CEO of Stony Creek Colors. The indigo used to dye denim blue jeans today is all synthetic indigo dye. Synthetic indigo is a petroleum-based color that is made from harmful chemicals like benzene, cyanide, and formaldehyde. The beauty and promise of plant-based color is that we don't need any of those harmful chemical intermediates. Our plants are the chemical factory, and farmers are at the heart of what we do as a business.
I see myself as the start of the indigo process, and the indigo really did improve our soil health. My name is Jacob Fuquay. I would be the 5th generation farmer here. We love doing it, and I hope we can continue to keep doing it.
Using renewable plant-based chemicals actually gives us the opportunity to put carbon back into the soil.
We try to rotate indigo with other crops. It doesn't pull much from the soil. And it seems like it puts back more than it takes because the corn is really good.
We are transforming the entire agricultural value chain, from seed to processing techniques that allow us to bring high purity indigo to a larger scale.
It's extremely unique to have a process that is completely safe, completely sustainable, and completely renewable. Our manufacturing process is safe enough to allow us that advantage to be able to be located in the heart of the community.
So the unique thing about the factory, Stony Creek Colors, is it's actually a retired tobacco warehouse because we're trying to get farmers that grow tobacco to help grow our product. It just kind of ties the whole story together.
Through composting our leaf material after extraction, we are able to have a fully closed-loop production process.
We are the entire supply chain, so from seed to finished product.
For nearly 10 years, we've been investing in research and development to bring natural indigo dye to the forefront of sustainability in dyeing. Our indigo dye is the only natural indigo certified by the USDA to be 100% bio-based.
I see the future of plant-based color as exactly what we're doing. There is not a lot of research that has been done in indigo. The colors are already out there. We need to take our modern understanding of science and go back to the roots.
Stony Creek is bringing back a new way of growing plant-based indigo, and it represents a huge opportunity for us to fight global climate change. We envision a vibrant fashion industry that values clean and natural colors used as a source of restoration, bringing life to the places it's grown, dyed with, and worn. Thanks. I just have one more small slide. I don't quite know what I was thinking when I put this at the end, but I think that we've had this amazing opportunity to work with denim mills and partners around the globe who really have a hunger for natural indigo and who have been told for a really long time that it wasn't possible to get. And so what I'm proud of in terms of what we accomplished is that we know it's possible. And on the bottom right is some indigold, which is actually the pre-reduced form of indigo. This is the first time it's ever been made from a plant-based indigo. And so this allows the mill to skip other, not just the mill, it's really amazing for artisan dyers who can make an indigo vat very quickly. But I think that what I'm proud of in terms of what it's shown is that with this intentionality and investment in some research and development, plant-based color can reach the point that synthetic dyes have been, but without all of the harmful aspects. So look forward to sharing more on the panel with everybody.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm blown away by these women. I mean, courage is the word. And my friend and coworker, Diana Benavides, was a thought partner in this. I appreciate her very much because, you know, we're closing Blue Gold this weekend, and it has been a tremendous run, a 6-month run for this show. And what we've seen is that there is this hunger out there. People flocked here, and they were hungry to know, how did this work? And artists led the way. Artists were the keepers of this science. They kept this knowledge, and they had this technology. And they're still doing it. They are, after the advent of synthetic indigo, when everything went to petroleum hell, they are leading the way back to natural dyes. But as we talked together preparing for this and met with Diana and talked about what do you have in common? What do you have in common? And what kept coming to me was a line from Rumi, the poet Rumi, where he says, "My heart will be an eye for you." And that's how I think of you three women. You let us see through your hearts, through the courage, through your vulnerability, whatever those moments were where you were out there advocating for something or trying something beyond. I mean, what I think about when I think of Mingei and craft, we love material, we love the objects that are about the personal, but we love people more, you see. At the end of every object, there's a person out there making or having courage. And that's, I mean, there are other threads of connection between your work. There's advocacy. You all became advocates beyond whatever pleasure you took in the making yourselves, whatever gratification was there in pouring water on the wool and watching it turn into a fabric. And Jen, you know, you don't get to see every day when people walk in here and they don't even know why they feel happy. They just know they feel happy. And those of us who are more maybe attuned to thinking about the space around us, the floors that you gave us and the curtains, it's all a gift. Everything that you're giving is a gift. You know, you're creating something for people, so much farther beyond what you're doing for yourselves. You're creating something for other people, possibilities for other people. I'm now really rambling, but it's just remarkable what you each have done. And in this advocacy, that whether or not you thought you'd be doing the advocacy or you're just compelled toward it, Claudy, you have your school happening. You know, we heard these descriptions of all the people who are coming to you to learn. They want to learn about natural dyes. They want to learn from you. All these spokes that go out from you, the farmers and the sheep and the land, and people who are getting inspired by what you're doing. And Sarah, same with you. How did you do this? How in the world did you go from dyeing things for the fair to growing acres of indigo and figuring out this pre-reduced substance that can be used by Levi's that steers them away from synthetic indigo? It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And you mentioned Brené Brown and you mentioned vulnerability. Can you talk a little bit about that, or you might not want to?
Yeah, well, I think that first, let me say, just because I don't want to forget it, and I don't know if I told you this, but as you were talking about kind of this, who else we're teaching and empowering, I came across recently this journal entry that I had from early in starting, not Stony Creek, but the business I had with my sisters, where I referenced this Metropolis magazine article from 2005 that Claudy was in, and it was the first time that I saw someone doing this thing. You know, I never was a wool artist or a fiber artist in that way, but to say, oh, look, Allie, we're not like totally crazy. There's one other person in the Netherlands is doing it. And she's on the cover of Metropolis magazine, so she has to be doing like, okay. And I think that when I started Stony Creek, or when I started Stony Creek, it was from this activist perspective. I was mad that I knew all of these colors were possible to get from plants, and yet you couldn't go and buy that anywhere, basically. You shouldn't have to go to the Franklin Farmers Market to buy it from two, 20-year-olds. And we were not making a living doing that anyway. So we had our other job at the grocery store for healthcare or whatever. And it was very much, I think, in saying, why are we not harnessing these colors? For me, I think what I learned or had these many chances of practicing, experiencing vulnerability or practicing it, it's not, the hard parts of that weren't so much the plants or when we had a hurricane or when the crops were under water for 9 days because of a slow-moving storm, or all the things we had to learn about the science, because I think I always believed that we could figure out the scientific parts. I think it's much more around how slow the industry moves on the buying side and all of these barriers to actually bringing any natural, not just natural, any sustainable fashion innovation to a level where it's used. And the type of, I think at least in the United States, we raised venture capital financing because we wanted to stay in business, especially right after COVID. And I think that allowed us to accomplish really amazing next level things on the science, but obviously it also comes with more strings attached in terms of how do you further your original mission. And so now there's been a transition to work with another family to try to get out, get that intellectual property back to a place that we can shepherd it kind of into the originally intended direction, I would say.
Claudy, how are you balancing making the work and this other role that you're having in teaching and spreading the word and it's got to be a balance, the time that you have for making and then the time for your advocacy.
I was thinking, when I woke up this morning so early, I was thinking when I come home tomorrow, I think I go through all night because there is so much to do. So very often in the weekends or in the evenings, I'm in my atelier because we have had an overwhelming, I would say, interest and request from all over the globe. People interested in, I think, the human scale also, making something in a very safe setting, and you understand what you are doing, you see the processes, you collaborate with your colleagues, you need the shepherd, you need the farmer, that you feel that you are needed is also something very special. And then it transforms into something very beautiful, because I think, for me, it's so essential that, what I said in the film also, that if people literally never saw these plant-based colors in your environment, I think that's such a loss, because we notice every day when people see it, completely unexpected, in the atelier. I mean, it resonates on a level, there are no, you cannot describe that. So there is something about these shades who have impact and make you feel, belong. I think that's the thing, belong and connected. So, and learning how to do that, because we cannot, we are a small atelier, we cannot, every work we make has integrity. Every hour of the people, collaborating in the team, they are very precious. So via education or learning or sharing, I think that's the only way. But there is a huge interest in in this engagement. So that's the reason why we are doing this.
You know, we got a late start today, so I would like to just open it up rather than having me ask questions. Do you all have any questions that you'd like to ask our speakers? Yes, Carolyn.
This is for Claudy. Your sheep, the Drenth Heath sheep, are they all one color? And the reason I'm asking this is I go back to the Navajo who use churro sheep, and they come in so many different natural colors that they weave into their product. And I'm wondering if you always dye your wool, do your sheeps come only one color? Can you use different natural colors from your sheep, and so on?
So mainly this breed has this very light color, but there are also, you know, some of them are dark or more gray. But it's interesting, especially when you work with the woad and you have a darker fleece, you get this more intensity. So the original quality of the wool is light. So that's the European variety. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Is it time for snacks? Oh, well, we can talk more upstairs. Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers.
Thank you, everyone. I just quickly want to acknowledge my colleague, Diana Benavides, who produced tonight's evening. She did a beautiful job. Thank you. And you know, the world's a little crazy right now, and I really appreciate the last 90 minutes being together with all of you and hearing from these caring and wise women. Thank you, Sarah, Claudy, Jen, and Emily, on behalf of the staff, our trustees, and everyone here. Thank you.